Sangiovese is one of my favorite grapes. I'm going to teach you about this Italian variety and show you how to pick a grape bottle. That's all coming up. Hello, hello, hello! Welcome back to Exotic Wine Travel, and today we're going to talk about Sangiovese, Italy's most planted red grape variety. Over 10% of all vineyards in Italy are dedicated to Sangiovese. It's also extremely food-friendly. Goes well with a number of different foods, namely tomato-based pastas, focaccia, pizza. Eat it with a great cut of beef, and also in Tuscany, they can pair it with some bean stews, which they call ribollita. Buying Sangiovese can be confusing to a lot of new wine consumers because often you don't see the word Sangiovese on the label. It's responsible for a number of Italy's greatest wines, including Brunello di Montalcino, which has to be 100% Sangiovese. These wines tend to be a little more expensive. I've seen some good values to be had in about $30, but generally you're going to have to want to spend 50 up to hundreds of dollars for a great bottle of Brunello. And when I talk about these prices, I talk about a big market like the US. In Europe, you're going to find these wines a little bit cheaper. Sangiovese is also behind the famous wine called Chianti. Chianti is a big region in Tuscany broken into several subzones. The most famous subzones are Chianti Rufina and then Chianti Classico, which is right in the center of Chianti. For a normal Chianti, you can get one for $10 or under. Chianti Rufina maybe in the $20 range, but I recommend Chianti Classico. Just look for that rooster. You can find some tremendous values in the $17 to $25 range, and then they can go up from there. Spectacular buys. I think Chianti Classico is maybe the best fine wine region in terms of value for money in the world. Another famous appellation that you'll see in a bottle label is Vino Nobile di Montepulciano. This is confusing because people associate with the grape Montepulciano, but it's not. It's the noble wine from the town of Montepulciano. Must be at least 70% Sangiovese. You can find some spectacular bottles in the $20 to $25, $30 range. I think at the top end, the most expensive Vino Nobile I've seen is about $90. And then also it shows up in wines labeled as Toscana IGT, Toscana Rosso. You have to be careful here. Not all Toscana Rossos, Toscana IGTs are Sangiovese-based wines. They can have Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, Syrah, all different types of stuff. So you have to know the producer, maybe ask somebody at the shop or the restaurant. You can get some really inexpensive, delicious Toscano wines based on Sangiovese for $15, and they can go up to hundreds of dollars, like the most famous one, Tignanello. Excellent lesser-known styles include Carmignano, which must be 80% Sangiovese. One producer I recommend is Tenuta di Capezzana. Excellent wines. For an excellent Carmignano, you can get them in around the $25 range. Other regions include Morellino di Scansano. These are a little bit bigger, more robust styles of Sangiovese. One of my favorite producers is Fattore Le Pupille. You can get some really inexpensive Morellino di Scansano, sometimes for around the $15 range. One lesser known region is Sangiovese di Romagna. In Emilia-Romagna, I'm a big fan of Chiara Cordello. Sangiovese di Romagna, since it's an underrated category of Sangiovese, you can also get in the sub $20 range. If you have a sweet tooth, look out for Vinsantos. They can be made of Sangiovese as well as other white grapes. Excellent classic wines with tons of complexity. Vinsantos are going to be a little bit more expensive because they take time. They take time to age and develop because they're held in the barrel for a little bit longer. The name Sangiovese translates to the blood of Yahweh, also known as the Roman god Jupiter. It's a grape variety that I always go back to. My love of Sangiovese goes all the way back to my graduate school days. When I was in chiropractic college, I decided to take a backpacking trip around Europe. It was my first time in Europe, and I remember sitting down at a cafe in Lucca, walled city in Tuscany, and ordering a carafe of Sangiovese. I remember just smelling that wine, putting my nose in the carafe, smelling it for like 5 minutes. My two friends thought I was crazy. That's when I really fell in love with wine, and especially Sangiovese. Throughout the years, as much as my palate's changed, I've never got tired of this grape. It's unique because it does the best in Italy. There are plantings of it in Argentina, California, Australia, all other places around the world, but it just doesn't seem to do as well outside of its homeland. For me, it has this unique blend of sweet fruit, sourness, and the savory characteristic. Sangiovese does take to wood aging really well. I personally prefer big oak casks so the wines are not as oaky. I've also tasted lately some beautiful wines coming out of concrete or raised in amphora, so you just get the pure fruit character of Sangiovese. True Sangiovese-based wines aren't necessarily dark in color. They're a little bit lighter in color for a red wine, have a little bit of browning on the edges as they get bottle aged, kind of a brick red in color. They can be full body but not massive wines. These type of wines don't always appeal to those that are drinking big Shirazes from Australia or big Napa Cabernet Sauvignons. They're a little bit more dialed back, a little bit more restrained, a lot more earthy type notes. They usually have this beautiful tangerine peel-like acidity. Also in Sangiovese, I want to see flavors of sour cherry, earth, black tea, white pepper. That's what I want in Sangiovese. I think it's the sour cherry that sells me. I do have a wine here to taste. I have the Boscarelli Il Noccio Vino Nobile di Montepulciano 2016 Great Vintage in Tuscany. This is more of a little bit of a baller wine. This is a wine that's going to be about $80 US, so it's a little bit on the higher end. However, I really love this producer. I recommend their standard Vino Nobile di Montepulciano. I think you can see that around the $25 US mark. Oh, it smells awesome. Sour cherry just jumps out. These sour red plum, earth, tobacco type flavors, white pepper, sweet cedar notes, all characteristics I want to see in Tuscan reds based on Sangiovese. Gorgeous wine, textbook example of great Sangiovese. Get the sour cherry note, some savory, leathery type flavors. It's a big wine, but it's not massive. It's going to be better with food. It has this nice citrusy type of acidity, and the tannins are just beautiful. They're not really drying, but they do grip a little bit on the palate. This is excellent Sangiovese. So I'd love to know, do you like Sangiovese? Do you have any favorite producers? Drop it in the comments below. And if you're looking for what video to watch next, how about a blind tasting of expensive Tuscan Sangiovese-based wines? I'm going to put that right up there. I'll see you soon.